Namaste friends, this is Manjunath here, biology lecturer from CET Sankalp. In today's class, let us discuss about body fluids and circulation. In that, we can discuss about a cardiac output and blood pressure, lymphatic vessels, or I can say that lymph. We can discuss about cardiac output, blood pressure, lymph and lymphatic vessels. We can say that the lymphatic system, what exactly it includes, and along with that we can discuss about disorders associated with circulatory system. Let us take what is cardiac output. As we all know that is the volume, that is we can say that volume of blood, or you can say that amount of blood pumped by the heart. So when exactly it going to, what is the pump? You can say that when the systole will be there, the volume of blood pumped by the heart. So that per minute pumped by the heart per minute, which gives the cardiac output. So cardiac output, if we want to calculate, that is, we can also say that the total volume, here we can also say that it is a total volume of blood pumped by the heart per minute. So what is that exactly? Stroke volume means ventricle which pump the blood, the amount of blood pumped during one beat. Stroke volume means amount of blood pumped during one beat. During one beat, that is called as, means you can say that the one ventricular systole, or you can say during ventricular systole. So that is stroke volume into the number of heartbeats per minute, that is total number of heartbeats per minute. So here stroke volume is 70 ml per minute, and on average the heartbeat will be 72 times. So if you're going to calculate, something around 5040 ml of blood per minute pumped by the heart. So ಇಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಲಡ್ಡನ್ನು every minute heart pump ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So that is what the cardiac output. Next, so in this case we can also know about how the blood supply to the heart wall will be there. See, to pump, what is it, for the pumping action, nutrients are required for the heart. So we can say that the blood supply to the heart wall, blood supply to the heart wall, mainly it includes a system, that is where we can say that the coronary arteries, right, a system which pumps the blood, that is coronary arteries and coronary sinus. So arteries which supply oxygenated blood to the heart wall, arteries which supply oxygenated blood to the heart wall, and these arteries which will going to, what is it, the branches out, where exactly they form the branches out of the aorta. These are the branches of the aorta. Generally, what is it, the when aorta which arises from the left ventricle, as we all know that it arises from the left ventricle, and when it arises and arches back, so these branches of, say, these coronary arteries branches off from the aorta. They may ask this question, these are the branches of aorta. Next, that which collects the, what is it, mainly which pumps organs, which supply oxygenated blood. And coronary sinus, that which collects the deoxygenated blood, that which collects, what is that, deoxygenated blood from the heart wall. And that sinus which opens into the right atrium. So it's a large vein, many smaller veins joined to form a large vein, that is what, coronary sinus, that which opens into the right atrium, that is what we discussed. Near to this, the coronary sinus, what is it, there will be a AVN, atrioventricular node. Next, so let us have, what is it, the short discussion about a blood pressure. As we all know that what is exactly the blood pressure is. Here if you consider that BP, right, the pressure exerted by the blood on the wall of the arterioles, that is the pressure exerted by the blood on the wall of the arteries, So whenever it is going to pump the blood, generally, what is it, on the wall of the arteries, and also we can say that the capillaries. So that pressure which is called as, what is it, the blood pressure. So, and in case of, what is it, the arteries and capillaries, it will be, in arteries it will be highest, and here will be the medium in the capillary, and in the vein the blood pressure is very low, or you can say that low blood pressure. Right, near to the heart, very high pressure will be there, and when we move away from the heart, the pressure decreases. So now we can define this pressure like this: the pressure exerted by blood on the walls of arteries. Pressure exerted by blood on the walls of arteries. Pressure exerted by the blood on the walls of arteries and capillaries, and also we can consider that is veins, which is very low. So this is called as BP. Why this pressure? That is mainly because of the pumping action of ventricles. Pumping action of ventricles is a cause for this, what is that, blood pressure. So blood pressure can be measured using sphygmomanometer. So this can be measured using, what is it, a device, what is it, the sphygmomanometer, right? And this was devised by Stephen Ailes. And an average, you can say that the average BP expressed, that is 120 by 80 mmHg. So what is that 120? That is a systolic pressure, which will be highest pressure on the arteries. And this one is diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure by diastolic pressure, what is that, which gives generally the blood pressure. So we may get this question: the average blood pressure is expressed 120 by 80. Next, move on to blood vessels and portal system. So here, whenever this, they will consider that the blood vessels mainly includes arteries and veins and capillaries. So arteries, we know that always carry blood, what is it, away from the heart, and veins which carry, that is the blood away from the heart, and blood towards the heart, that is into the heart from, what is it, we can say that the tissue cells or some other, what is it, structures. And here the very important thing in this, we have to keep it in mind, that is whenever the blood which will be pumped by, what is it, here the pressure will be very high, and the arteries, because of the more pressure, no valves, and here valves are present to prevent backflow, because here very low blood pressure will be there. And exception is there. What is it? The only artery, that is a pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood, and only vein which carries oxygenated blood, that is a pulmonary vein, that is oxygenated blood. So that is, we already discussed about this. And here, so whenever we're going to know about this, keep in mind that these arteries, where the diameter, lumen diameter is less and with thick wall, surrounded by thick wall, and diameter of the lumen is broader, right? So is broader and with a thin wall compared to compared to the arteries. Now let us take the portal system. So in this, there are three types of portal systems. One is hepatic portal system, and then renal portal system, and hypophyseal portal system. So let us have just some few points related to this, the portal system. And here, what is that? The portal system, where actually if it is a tissue, here the capillary supply will be there, and then arises venules and forms a vein. Vein opens into the major vein, like inferior vena cava, right? Or you can say that superior vena cava. But here it is not like that. Vein arises from one tissue, ends in the other organ. This is one organ, from one organ to other organ. That is called as portal system. So this extension which will be there by a vein, that vein is a portal vein. So portal system, right, generally there are three types. One is hepatic portal system, that is which connects the digestive tract. That is a vein which connects the digestive tract with liver. Means not only the renal vein where it collects, or you can say that the renal hepatic vein, that is not a renal vein, we can say hepatic vein. So that is hepatic vein, generally it collects deoxygenated blood from the liver. But whereas here, the hepatic portal system, from the liver, it will going to, from the digestive tract, it supply that all those digested food into the liver through this, hepatic portal vein. That system is called as hepatic portal system. And next, and this is present in almost all the organisms. And these structures which are extension, that is the vein extension. So next we can have renal portal system. So renal portal system, which generally connects the kidney. We know that is a renal artery and renal vein. So renal portal system, the portal system which is present only in the non-mammals. It is absent in mammals, right? So non-mammals, what is that? Generally it is present, so absent in mammals. What is that exactly, the renal portal system? It is where here digestive tract with the liver through the vein, that vein is called as portal vein. Here digestive tract which connects with kidney by a vein, that vein is called as generally portal vein. Renal portal vein, that system is called as renal portal system. And same like that, there is one more in nervous system we can discuss. Just I will mention this, hypophyseal portal system. That is the connection between, the connection between the hypothalamus and the pituitary. That is a vein which is extended from hypothalamus to the pituitary. to the pituitary. That is mainly here you should keep it in mind, anterior pituitary, connected to the anterior pituitary. We'll discuss this in the neural control coordination. So anterior pituitary. So these are the things you have to keep it in mind in case of what is it, the portal system. It is a unique vascular system. Portal system is a unique vascular system where what is it, the as I mentioned that from one organ to the other organ there will be a connection, right? The major visceral organ, that is digestive tract, with the what is it, the liver, is called as hepatic portal system, and same like the digestive tract, if it is with what is it, the kidney, we can say that is renal portal system, and same like that hypothalamus to the pituitary, we can say that is hypophyseal portal system, hypophyseal portal system. So let us take the question related to this, some questions related to this. The instrument used to what is it, the hear heart sound. In the previous class actually we discussed that is a stethoscope. And here what is that sphygmomanometer? We know that generally to measure the blood pressure, what is that, systolic pressure by diastolic pressure, that is 120 by 80 mm Hg. Electrocardiograph, that is a graph, is a device to measure, to know the electric activity of the heart. Hemometer, that is hemoglobin content, that is where to measure the hemoglobin content in RBCs, or you can say that red blood cells, right? Hemoglobin content in, so answer for that is stethoscope. Sphygmomanometer is an instrument used to record the, mainly we can say that blood pressure, that is what which includes systolic pressure and diastolic pressure, both 1 and 2. Next, when a person engages in strenuous exercise, means what is it, we can say that the aerobic exercise, vigorous exercise, what happens in this case, the question. So when a person is doing more exercise, generally the blood flow should enhance, it is going to increase, right? And here the total peripheral resistance increases. No, if it is going to increase, then it won't receive that, pump more blood flows to the kidney reduced, right? So when, keep in mind, the organs which will going to all the organs blood flow increases. When the blood flow increases, increased blood flow to all the organs, right, the cardiac output will be reduced. So in case of what is it, the condition where it will going to the cardiac output, the blood will be more, supply will be there for all other organs, where you can say that they to receive the, when the heart which is going to receive, that will be less, and the blood volume which will going to circulate throughout those organs, utilization will be high, so that heart will going to receive less blood volume. Here there is a less blood volume, we can say what is that, reduced cardiac output. So that is the answer for that, we can say that is fourth one. Next, the pulse pressure. So what is the pulse pressure? So here we know that the, what is exactly the blood pressure, that is pressure exerted on the arteries. Same like that here in case of pulse pressure. So as we will say that the hypertension and hypotension, more, what is the pressure more than the 120, that is the hypertension, and less than what is it, the 90, if this is a case. In both the cases we'll say that if it is what is it, the pressure which exceeds, right, mainly what you can say represent like this 150, right, 150, above 150, and you can say that more than what is it, 95, so that is hypertension, right, hypertension. And same like that if it is what is it, the something around less than, in case of hypo, what is it, the pressure, if it is less than 120, right, so 120, and that may go up to 100 to what is it, less than 100, less than what is it, the 70, less than 70. So if this is a case, we'll say hypotension, tension. So hypertension, where you can say that blood pressure of a person more than 120 by 80, and here it may go up to less than 50, 100 to less than 50, less than 100 to less than 50, right? Less than 100 or less than 50, that is hypotension, reduced. So what is that? The pulse pressure. So whenever we're going to know about this pulse pressure, see, during the blood pressure, there is a series of the waves, series of waves of dilation, waves of dilation, which can be absorbed in the superficial region of the the arteries, where they will be present in this superficial region, or I can say that superficially these arteries where we can locate, that is in the neck region or in the the wrist region. Doctor touch ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಈಗ ನಾವು ರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಹತ್ರ ಪಲ್ಸ್ ರೇಟ್ ನೋಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ನೆಕ್ ಹತ್ರ ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ವೈ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ that is series of waves of dilation, right, that pass along, series of waves of dilation that pass along the arteries, right, along the arteries, right. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಆರ್ಟರಿ ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು, right, as it will move in the series of waves, so that is what the pulse pressure, right. So this we can say that as the pressure, because of the heart which is going to pump the blood from the left ventricle, that is series of waves of dilation that pass along the arteries due to the blood pressure exerted by the ventricles. So that is what the pulse pressure. So pulse pressure is a measure of what? Generally, number of heartbeats per minute. No, that is a heart rate. Sum of diastolic and systolic pressure, that is what we can say, that is a blood pressure. Here we can say that we can calculate the total pressure, or you can say that the cardiac output, how it will be. And difference between the arterial and venous pressure. So in the arterial pressure, the pressure in the artery is very high, in the venous pressure is very low. Difference between the systolic and diastolic pressure. So here we can say that whenever we're going to talk about this, difference between systolic and diastolic. See, that is what? Series of waves of dilation. When pressure exert, right, there will be a pressure exert, that is systolic, and when it relax, that is it contracts, because of that it increases the pressure, and when it relax, the wave which will going to form exerts and relax. So that is what the relaxed state can be. What is it? The between difference between the systolic and diastolic pressure, which gives what is it? Pulse pressure. That is what? What is that? 120 minus 80. That is what? Generally, whenever we're going to calculate this, what is it? The 120 minus 80, then we'll get the 40 mmHg. So this is what? Which gives the pulse pressure. What is pulse pressure? That is 40 mm of Hg. What is diastolic pressure? That is 80 mm. What is systolic pressure? 120 mm of Hg. During joint diastole, as we studied that there will be auricular systole, ventricular systole, joint diastole for about 0.4 seconds. Joint diastole. So here what is that? Both atria relax but ventricles contract. No, both ventricles relax but atria contracts, and tricuspid and bicuspid valve open, right. So that is when the auricle contracts, they are going to open, that is auricular systole, right. That is also both semilunar valves are open. So here during joint diastole, whenever the blood will going to receive by that, so keep in mind that here those valves, that is the inferior vena cava and then superior vena cava, right, along with that the coronary sinus, these are with the valves, they are going to open, and right atrium receive blood, and same like that this will be closed. And here these semilunar valves, generally during joint diastole, this blood semilunar valves, that is open, So when the semilunar valve opens, generally there will be a backflow, right? So this is what we can say during the contraction, right, where it will going to close that semilunar valve. We can't say that semilunar valves are open. So during joint diastole, what happens exactly? The seventh question, right? Both ventricles and atria relax. Both atria relax, but ventricle contracts. Wrong. Both ventricles relax, but atria contract. Wrong. Tricuspid and bicuspid valve opens. That is during the auricular contraction. Both semilunar valves are open, right? When both semilunar valves are open, that we can say diastole, right? So when there will be a diastole, they should close actually, but due to the back pressure which exerts, that will be going to the close. So next. Both semilunar valves are open. So that is what which represents the next. So pulmonary veins. What is it? The pulmonary veins carry. I already mentioned that pulmonary artery. What is it? The exception, deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary vein, oxygenated blood. So this is what that brings. What is it? The oxygenated blood from lungs. That from lungs to the what is that? Left auricle, right? Left auricle, and then it will move to the left ventricle and then pump through aorta, pump to the all parts of the body. So what exactly here we can say, it receives always the pure blood, the oxygenated blood. Pure blood from heart to lungs, no. Heart, pure blood from heart to lungs, right? Generally which is going to carry by with the help of what is it, the pulmonary artery where it divides. Generally pulmonary artery which will going to carry what is it, the deoxygenated blood from heart to the lungs, and that is what is it, through aorta, right? This is aorta where it divides and will going to bring the oxygenated blood heart to the lungs. Next, pure blood from lungs to heart. That is what we can say, pure blood from lungs to heart. Here oxygenated blood, you should keep it in mind. So that is the pulmonary vein which carries pure blood from lungs to the heart. Lungs to the heart. That too mainly to the left auricle. So that is the second option we can consider. Next, impure blood from lungs to the heart. That is collected by the vein and that will be drained into the by the help of superior vena cava. Impure blood from heart to lungs. That is generally which carries, that is a pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery which carries impure blood. Next, maximum pressure of blood is experienced when blood enters the left auricle to aorta. From left auricle to aorta, no movement is there in that. So generally left auricle to aorta, no, left auricle to left ventricle and then to the aorta we can say. So when blood enters from left auricle to aorta, no, that is the wrong. And when blood enters from right auricle to aorta, no, it won't take place. And when blood enters from left ventricle to aorta, see, left ventricle to aorta, there will be a more pressure, maximum pressure, right? That is what a systolic pressure, 120 mm Hg will be there. So we can select 49th, third option, venous heart. As we discussed that the heart which receives deoxygenated blood, So here the birds and mammals will going to receive separately, they are going to receive both the oxygenated blood and this side deoxygenated blood, and this side oxygenated blood. Right side deoxygenated, left side oxygenated. So birds and mammals, complete double circulation where no the blood gets mixed. Both oxygenated and deoxygenated will be kept separately in the separate chamber, and in the reptiles it get mixed, but here it will going to, the right auricle will receive deoxygenated in the reptiles, and the left auricle will receive oxygenated, so that we can say both will be there. Only the blood with the carbon dioxide, that is in fishes, right? Next, and these type of which receive both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, right, they are called as arteriovenous heart. Arteriovenous heart. Arteriovenous heart, or you can say that systemic heart. Next, arteries are, so in this case we can say that is the, already we have discussed what is the major role of the arteries, right? So arteries will going to carry blood from heart to all parts of the body. Exception one is there, that is a pulmonary artery. So arteries, whenever they're going to the pump the blood, the ventricle pumps the blood, they should resist the that pressure. To resist, right, there should be a thick wall. So thick wall and blood flow on, always there will be a flow which will be with high pressure. There's a thick wall mainly to resist, that is the high blood pressure, and blood which will pump with high pressure. Let us see, thick wall, correct, blood flows under diminished, no low pressure. Thin wall, wrong, blood flows under diminished, wrong. Thick wall, blood flows under high pressure. We can select this, right? Next, thin wall and blood flows under high pressure, not thin wall, thick wall. So that is the arteries. Next, the blood circulation which starts and ends into capillaries is, blood circulation which starts and ends into capillaries. So what is the meaning of that? Starts and ends into capillaries. Starts from the capillaries, right, and that will going to join and ends with the capillaries. Generally what happens, whenever it starts from the the capillaries, these will going to join with a vein, right, and then to the major vein. Let us recollect that the portal system. So in that, generally the portal system, what happens, this is one organ, capillaries will be there, and to the next organ if it has to the join with the capillaries. So that is what the meaning of this. So here blood circulation starts and ends with the capillaries, we can say portal circulation. So in case of renal circulation, that is where we discussed in the excretory system. So renal artery divides into arterioles, right, and then finally venules, and those venules join to form a vein, right? So it does not end with, starts and end with, so it starts with the capillaries if you want to come out of the organ, and then forms a vein, and vein joins with major vein. So this is very, very important. So here we won't consider this as a portal system. So hepatic system, liver, that is hepatic ducts, where is surrounded by the hepatic, the capillaries, or you can say that there we can say that the blood which supply, that is by the hepatic vein, you can say. Next, lymphatic circulation, that is which includes mainly lymph. So lymphatic circulation, that is always that fluid matrix will be circulated, which is called as interstitial fluid, right? How many double circulations are normally completed by human heart in 1 minute? Generally, we know that there will be a 72 the beats are there. Same like that, in each and every time blood flows. If one time there is it will going to flow, right? There is a right auricle to the right ventricle, and at the same time left auricle to the left ventricle. So that is what we can say, 72 times it will going to complete double circulation. Next, how many times a red blood, see here they are asked, that is 1 minute 72 beats, so 72 times. If they're going to ask if it is for about 10 beat, So how many times it completes what is it? Double circulation. How many double circulation will be completed in 10 beat? 10 times. Right. Next. Okay, next question. How many times red blood corpuscles will have to pass through the heart in its journey? So generally we know that from hepatic artery. From hepatic artery. What is the meaning of that hepatic artery? From the liver. So when hepatic artery, right, which is going to supply the blood. So here in this case, what is that? See, first it will going to, what is the blood corpuscles, RBCs, pass to the heart, right, and then heart to the, what is that? Assume that RBC, heart to the all body parts, and then to the intestine. So intestine, digestive tract is connected with the liver. That is, it will going to collect deoxygenated blood, and once again it will come, right? So how many times red blood corpuscles will have to pass through the heart in its journey of the hepatic dose? So first year, if it is receives the oxygenated blood, that will pump to the intestine, and that is where you can say that the liver directly, and the liver where it will going to give, what is it, the to the heart, and then when it receives all those the content, right, from the liver after the production or assimilation of energy, right, so that will going to, what is it, the once again it will send to the heart, and then it will going to pump to all other parts including liver. So that is what hepatic artery, which brings the oxygenated blood. So first it will going to pass with all those content. That is what. And then here we can also consider that the hepatic portal system. Hepatic portal system. So that is what. How many times red blood corpuscles will have to pass through the heart in its journey from hepatic artery. Hepatic artery in the ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ first that hepatic artery to the liver, that is which enters to the liver, hepatic artery, and then what is it, the hepatic portal system, right, where it will going to collect, and then to the heart, and once again it will move to the lungs, and once again it will come back to the heart, and once again it will going to reach. So before going to reach this, twice it will going to, the 2 times it will going to follow pathway. Next, lymphatic system. What exactly this lymphatic system? We know that what are those? The tissue fluid. So lymph we can say that the middleman of the body. So why it is called as middleman of the body? Just we can say that whenever there will be in between the tissue, right, so these are wrapped by capillaries, and there will be, what is it, some substance will going to leak out of these, what is it, the capillaries. And if you're going to, what is it, the exist for a long time, that may create a problem. So this will be collected by lymphatic vessels. So these are the lymphatic, what is it, the capillaries which collects, and they join to form, all those join to form the vessel, and then these lymph vessels all together join and open into a major vein. Right. So this is what the major role of, what is it, the lymphatic system. So lymph, which mainly it is with the minerals, it will be with the minerals, and generally no RBC here, no RBCs and platelets, whereas minerals will be there and little WBCs will be there. That is what we can say, WBCs there, we can mention that lymphocytes will be there, hence they will they play a role in immune system. So lymph is compared to the blood, where in the blood RBC and platelets will be present, but here no RBC and platelets in the lymph. And next, so whenever we going to talk about this, is called as interstitial fluid that will be collected by these, what is it, the capillaries, and that will be drained to the lymph vessels to the major vein. So that is why it is called as, what is that, middleman of the body. And what is the major role? Helps in the exchange of nutrients, gases between the blood, right, between the blood and the cell. So here, when the blood will going to move, it may, what is it, through the blood capillary, some amount may get leaked into the, what is it, the space present between the two cells, that is called as interstitial space, and the fluid which will be going to accumulate there, that is called as interstitial fluid. So this is what exactly these lymph nodes are located along the length of the lymphatic vessels. Here lymphatic vessels are there and lymph nodes will be there. These are the oval shape, and they will going to mainly, what is it, they produce, what is it, B and T lymphocytes. What is the role of lymph nodes? They will produce as the B and T, what is it, lymphocytes, right? So these B and T lymphocytes, which is going to play a major role in the immunity. So next, it is not like that capillaries. See, capillaries are the connected. The venules and capillaries are connected. So many times we have mentioned this, right? Like this, correct, right? But here see, these are the blind ends. Lymph capillaries are blind ends. So this is related to lymph. And whenever we are going to say that the lymph organs, I can say that where these B and T lymphocytes will be produced, which includes sometimes we can say what is that, mainly which will be produced in the spleen, right? Related to that, we can say that the spleen and tonsils, right? Tonsils, which will be act as the primary lymph organs, I can say lymphoid organs. So this is enough for this. And the next concept we can take, that is, before going to take next concept, we'll take this question: which of the following statement is true for lymph? So already mentioned that. So lymph, mainly WBCs will be there, and in case of, what is that, serum means no clotting factors. So little amount of clotting factor will be there in the, what is that, so where you can say that we can't say that completely absent, there will be, what is it, we know that what is serum, right? Plasma without clotting factor, plasma without clotting factor, that is serum, but little amount of clotting factor will be there. Only WBCs and serum won't be there. True for this one. RBCs, there won't be RBC, and this content will be there. RBCs, proteins and platelets. So all the components of the blood except RBCs and some proteins. So that is why, see, some serum means no clotting factor. Clotting factor will be there, right? So that is why we won't consider that, right? True for that, all components except RBCs and some proteins will be there along with the plasma. Middleman of the body, already we discussed that, lymph, right? WBCs, they play a role in immunity, and RBCs, transportation of respiratory gases, plasma, transportation of all nutrients, and also, what is that, waste, right, which will be eliminated. Next, we'll take some, what is it, the disorders related to heart. So what is that? We know that what is exactly the heart attack and myocardial infarction. Just I mentioned this, what is the important diseases. If there is a high BP, we'll say that the hypertension, right, more than 120/80, and that which will mainly affects, right, so that is a heart disease. High BP which leads to, what is it, the heart diseases, right, right, and there is no cure. We should take some precautionary measures, right? What it affects mainly, that mainly high BP, it affects the vital organs. We may get this question, vital organs. Why? Because they are very small capillaries, and these may, what is it, they rupture because of high pressure, and that may lead to bleeding. mainly highly susceptible are brain and kidney. High BP affects the brain and kidney. That is what are vital organs. And next one more, that is a coronary artery disease, CAD. What is that coronary artery disease? Mainly we can also call it as atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. Coronary artery disease, which is also called as atherosclerosis. Here the blood vessel which supply blood to heart, right? So generally which supply the blood to the heart muscle will be affected, means which will be they blocked, which will be get blocked by the cholesterol. See, assume that there will be accumulation of the cholesterol and the passage gets narrower, or it may be blocked, that which mainly caused due to the deposition of, we can say that the calcium, right? So calcium and fat and cholesterol, calcium, fat, cholesterol accumulation maybe leads to, and along with some fibrous tissue, right? Along with some fibrous tissue. So this is very important. Where is that? The calcium, fat and cholesterol, fibrous tissue accumulates, and which makes the lumen of arteries narrower. Here you can say lumen gets narrower. When the supply will be there, that may leads to heart attack or heart arrest, right? Next, you can say that first it leads to heart attack and then the arrest. Finally, there is a difference between heart attack and heart arrest. We can take that. The congestion of lungs. Sorry, before going to this question, let me give the one more, that is angina. We'll say that is generally the chest pain, right? So angina pectoris or angina. So in this case, what happens generally, that is a acute chest pain. Slightly chest pain will be there. That will be going to, what is it, the mainly because of less, right? Or you can say that no enough oxygen will be reached the heart muscles. No enough oxygen, insufficient enough oxygen, right? No enough oxygen for heart muscles, or you can say less, right? So when less will be there, these heart muscles can't be able to contract, that leads to pain. So this is because of the affected blood flow. That is what we have mentioned, that is atherosclerosis, or you can say arteriosclerosis. Atherosclerosis, deposition of all those things, calcium, fat, cholesterol, fibrous tissue. Arteriosclerosis, the arteries, right? Mainly here we can say that the coronary artery in case of CAD, which supply the blood to the heart muscles. Here all other arteries where only the calcium deposition in the lining of the artery. See, this is very important. Here in the lumen, whereas in this case, if you consider this is a wall layer, so here in this wall layer, that calcium deposits, where the thickening of the arterial wall, that leads to completely due to the calcium ion, you can say that the calcium deposition in the wall of the, not in the lumen, in the wall of the arteries, that leads to hardening of the artery. This is very, very important. This is called as arteriosclerosis. What is that? Arteriosclerosis. Atherosclerosis, mainly coronary artery cholesterol deposition in the lumen of the artery, whereas here in the, what is it, wall lining, that is mainly, right? So this is very important, and this can be angina pectoris can be seen in the middle aged and elderly person. So this is what sclerosis means: softening of tissue. Sclerosis means where you can say that, sorry, not softening, that is stiffening. The thickness increases. It gets deposited by these things, and stiffness. They can't be able to then expand, or they can't be able to show that elasticity. When the blood pressure increases, they can't be able to undergo changes. So these are the things you have to keep it in mind. And the final one, that is heart failure. So we'll take that. So here heart attack means generally muscle suddenly damaged. Keep it in mind. Sudden damage of heart muscle. Sudden damage of heart muscle. Why this damage will be there? Inadequate blood supply because of inadequate blood supply. Very less blood supply ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಬೀಟ್ ಹಾಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್, ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ, ರೈಟ್. ಸೊ inadequate supply of blood with oxygen, supply of blood. So that is what the very important thing. In case of heart attack, so whenever we can say that generally the sudden death of heart muscle, we can say sudden death of or damage of heart muscle. So what is that? Heart arrest. So heart arrest generally, which is also called as, what is it, in which the condition which called myocardial infarction. So here where the heart stops beating, myocardial infarction. So this is very very important, where completely the heart will going to stop beating. It stops beating, that is heart arrest. Heart arrest. So death of that definitely leads to death of the person. So that is the myocardial infarction. So next here, that is the heart failure. Keep it in mind, difference. Heart attack, damage of the heart muscle. Heart arrest due to complete damage, complete heart stops beating. And heart failure, what is the meaning of failure? Generally ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ failure ಅಂದರೆ where we couldn't be able to reach that particular the zone, or you can say that we can't be able to meet that need. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ heart failure, heart fails to pump, right? Here heart, right, so fails to pump the blood. ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, fails to pump the blood. So it won't pump blood effectively, fails to pump the blood to all other parts of the body. So this the major, here you can say that the one symptom, here you can say that the congestion of the lungs is one of the main symptom. If it fails to pump the blood, as we know that lungs are richly supplied with blood capillary. If no the richly supplied with vascular the connection, if no blood, what happens? Generally there will be a congestion. So congestion of lungs, congestion of lungs is a major symptom, main symptom of heart failure. We may get this question. Congestion of lungs ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಕಂಜೆಸ್ಟಿವ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್. ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ನ ಕಂಜೆಸ್ಟಿವ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್? So most probable cause of heart attack. So in this case we can say that is, what is that? The arteriosclerosis, right? Arteriosclerosis is the most probable cause of heart attack. Heart attack means sudden damage of the heart muscle. Hepatic portal system, as we know that already we have discussed about this. So hepatic portal system, right, will be present in all of this, whereas in case of the renal portal system, this is very very important. Renal portal system present only in non-mammals, right? It is absent in mammals. So if they are going to ask here, renal portal system, it is not present in mammals, present in this, so non-mammals. Next, so answer for this hepatic portal system present in reptiles, mammals, birds, right? So renal portal system present only in non-mammals, right? Absent in mammals. Blood passes from left ventricle to right atrium. So what is that exactly? Passes from the left ventricle. So here you have to keep it in mind that actually, right, double complete this one we discussed now, just to represent that L, right? Right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle, left ventricle. So left ventricle to the, they are mentioning here, right atrium. So all those body parts it will going to receive, and from that whatever here oxygenated blood right? And then here it will going to reach. So that is what here we can say deoxygenated blood to the right auricle. So if this is a case, what is that? We'll say from body tissue cells, if they included, that is systemic circulation, right? And if it is right ventricle to the lungs, right ventricle to the lungs, and then to the heart, that is pulmonary circulation. So this is what you do keep it in mind. So systemic circulation, blood passes from left ventricle to right. If right ventricle to left auricle, that is here right ventricle to left auricle. So that is pulmonary circulation. Next, in ventricular systole, the oxygenated blood pumped into, during ventricular systole, oxygenated blood pumped into aorta, right? Mainly. So oxygenated blood is pumped into aorta, and the deoxygenated blood pumped into pulmonary vein. So no, pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. You can't select that. So here, is it the pulmonary artery? Blood pumped into pulmonary artery. No, that is for aorta. Deoxygenated blood to aorta, oxygenated blood. Aorta, deoxygenated blood into pulmonary artery. Exception, pulmonary artery. So we can select the option. What is that? 3. Next, which set includes only lymphatic organs? We can say that the thymus, lymph nodes, and spleen, which play, what is it? Which we can consider that as these are the, what is that? Lymphatic nodules. So whereas these pairs patches are secondary lymphoid organs, even mucosal associated lymphoid tissue, MALT, right? Mucosal associated lymphoid tissue, secondary lymphoid organ. So lymphatic organs, which mainly includes thymus, lymph nodes, spleen, right? Next, which one of the following is incorrect about atherosclerosis? Incorrect. Construction of arterial lumen reduces, actually that is a constriction of arterial, I can say construction, where you can say that the lumen will be, generally it will be narrower in case of, what is it, the arteries. That is the constriction of arterial lumen reduces the blood flow, right? Let me make it this constriction, right? So here in this case, atherosclerosis, that is coronary artery mainly, right? What happens? Let us take next, loss of dilation, right? Loss of dilation ability of the arterial wall, and its rupture, So in this case, here we can say that is the arteriosclerosis. So dilation, that is loss of dilation ability, that is what? On the wall. See, this is what? Constriction, right? This we can say constriction of arterial lumen due to the deposition I mentioned, no? Due to the deposition, that will going to reduce. So cholesterol deposition in the inner wall of the artery. No, not in the inner wall of the artery, that is in the lumen. Instead of this, they should mention here lumen. So it is wrong. Proliferation of vascular muscles. No. Right. So here the constriction of arterial lumen blocks the passage, reduces the blood flow. That is 1. Angina occurs due to conditions that affects the blood flow. What condition generally? We know that when it will going to, angina occurs due to the condition that affects the blood flow. Because if blood flow is not properly takes place, right, that will going to create a less, in case of angina pectoris we mentioned, there will be a less supply of oxygen, right? So the chest pain will be there. So because of, right, enough oxygen does not reach the heart muscle. Enough oxygen does not reach the heart muscle. So that if you consider that when no enough oxygen, enough oxygen to the heart muscles, we can easily say blood flow is affected, right? Next, which among the following statement is correct and which are wrong? So in this case, let us take out this. Plasma constitute 45%. What is it? That is the, here we can say which are correct, which are wrong, we should say that is. So let us take that is the 1 is correct. Let us write here this side correct and incorrect. So 1 is correct, and then albumin is a plasma protein that the involved in osmotic balance. That is also correct, as we discussed, right? And then immunoglobulin, which helps in immunity, globulin. And fibrinogen, clotting. Blood clotting factors are present in blood. So blood clotting factors are present in blood. That is formed elements. No, generally present in plasma. Wrong. Next, plasma without clotting factor, generally which is called as, so plasma, here you can say that plasma, 55%, that is also wrong. That is 45% formed elements. So answer, the 1 is also wrong. And next, here you can say that the next option, right? So albumin involved in osmotic balance, correct. And then blood clotting factor present in the blood, yes, we can say that this is a blood plasma. Let me make this is also correct. Then plasma without clotting factor, serum, that is also correct. Minerals are not found in blood. No, minerals will be present. No. So which are the correct statement? So plasma, which constitute the, so here the first, right, here first, second is correct, we can't select this. First is wrong, and the fourth is the correct. First and fourth correct, and fifth is wrong. That is also we can say another. Second and fourth are correct. First, second and fourth, fifth are wrong. You can't select because second is correct. Right, this is also wrong. That is, whenever we're going to say that the second is correct, third is correct, present in factor, that is also correct. Clotting factor, serum, that is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, and here you can say that 1 and 5 are wrong. Right, so that is answer for that 65th, fourth one. Next, 66 question. Serum differs from blood. In serum, no, what is the clotting factors? That is lack of clotting factor, not lack of antibodies, lack of clotting factor. Right. Next, albumin and globulins and albumins will be there in the blood plasma. Mitral valve is found between. What is a mitral valve? That is a bicuspid valve. So bicuspid valve, which is present between right auricle and the right ventricle, that is in the, this septum is called as atrioventricular septum. So answer for that, left atrium, left ventricle, no, right atrium, right ventricle, right atrium and right ventricle, that is the correct answer. Mitral valve, here is a tricuspid valve. That is tricuspid valve. That is, we can say not the left atrium and right ventricle, that is also wrong. Right, they are asking bicuspid valve. This is also wrong. So bicuspid valve is present between left atrium and left ventricle. First one, left ventricle and left auricle and left ventricle, correct. So this we can select the answer. Tricuspid, and then here is a bicuspid. So in this bicuspid, which is also called as mitral or mitral valve. Generally, which will be 3 flaps, right? 3 flaps in the tricuspid, whereas 2 flaps in the mitral valve. It's like nurse cap, right? So that is why it is called as mitral valve. So answer for that 67-1. So which of the following is mismatched? Lub, first heart sound, correct, associated with the closure of tricuspid and bicuspid during, what is that? During auricular systole. Ventricular systole. During ventricular systole. Sound is always related to ventricular systole only. Ventricular systole and ventricular diastole. Ventricular systole, correct. Cardiac output, stroke volume multiplied by heart rate, that is also correct. Dub, second heart sound due to opening of the semilunar, no, that is due to closing of semilunar valve to prevent the backflow, that is during, that is, or you can say in the beginning of ventricular diastole. This is very, very important, in the beginning of the ventricular diastole. So that is the mismatched one. Duration of cardiac cycle 0.8 seconds, correct. Read the following statement and find out the incorrect statements. So incorrect statements, will take up that incorrect statements. So heart situated in the thoracic cavity in between the 2 lungs, slightly tilted towards the right. Wrong, that is slightly tilted towards left. Heart as a size of clenched fist, correct. So 1 is wrong. We want what is only incorrect. 1, heart protected by double-walled membranous bag pericardium, enclosed pericardial fluid, correct. And then human heart as a 4-chamber, 2 relatively larger upper chamber called as atria. That is, these are smaller upper chamber. Wrong. Smaller upper chamber and 2 larger lower called as ventricles. This is wrong. So 1, so this here you can say that, make it 4, 1, 4, and this one is 5, right. So here 1, 4, and a thick muscular wall called as interatrial septum. What is that? Just recollect that. Right auricle and left auricle, right. That is interatrial. It is a thin, and then right ventricle, left ventricle. This is a thick, and this one is thin. Read out the thick muscular wall, interatrial. No, that is a thin. Wrong. So 1, 4, and 5th are wrong. So left atria, whereas a thin wall. Left atria, which is thick wall. Just recollect that structure what I explained. So that is 1, 4, and 5. Right. Just you change this as a, make it 4, then make it 5. Right. So this is the answer. And next, the last in the cardiac conduction, as we discussed, sand, and then to haul the throughout the wall of the atria, and then to the AVN to the interventricular septum, where only the bundle of S to the right bundle, left bundle, finally Purkinje fibers. So answer for that sequence, last in the conduction sequence, Purkinje fibers. Next, the correct descending order of percentage of proportion of leukocytes in human blood. So here already we have discussed that. The very simple question, the one or the other question definitely will be there in this, the percentage related. So just you recollect that, which is the highest number and the lowest number. So as we know that generally neutrophils, if you're going to discuss about that forms, neutrophils is to the 60 to 65%. 60 to 65%. And then basophils, something around 1% we have mentioned that. Basophils. And then the eosinophils which are also called as acidophils. Keep it in mind, eosinophils which are also called as acidophils, and these acidophils something around 2 to 4 or 2 to 3%. And next after that, monocytes 6 to 8%. These are agranulocytes, so 6 to 8%. And lymphocytes generally that is 20 to 25%. So what is the highest number? 1. And then 2. Neutrophils, lymphocytes, neutrophils, monocytes, neutrophils, basophils, neutrophils, acidophils, neutrophils, lymphocytes. Next 1, 2, and then monocytes. Correct. Acidophils 2 to 3%. Correct. Basophils 1%. Right. So definitely we can expect such questions. Next, for safe blood transfusion, what should be there exactly? Whenever we're going to say that for safe blood transfusion, when what is it, the if you're going to what is it, the transfer, if you want to what is it, the transfer blood, there should not be antibodies. Antigen should be matched. Antigen of the donor should match with antigen of what is it, the recipient. So that is very important here. Recipient serum should not contain antigen against donor antibodies. What is it? Recipient serum. Serum means without a clotting factor. Plasma. They're telling that plasma generally will say antibodies, right? Not the antigen. Plasma, which is antibodies. Donor RBC should not contain antibodies against recipient. Should not contain antibodies. Right? So whenever we're going to say that, should contain antibodies. Right? Donor's RBC should not contain antibodies against the recipient serum. Recipient serum means that is also a plasma. Plasma with what is that? Antibodies. Right. Next, recipient RBC should not contain antibodies against the donor. Antigens. Recipient serum should not contain antibodies against RBCs of donor. Correct, right? That is antibodies. So whenever we're going to say that, there should not be serum plasma without antibodies. Should contain antibodies. Should contain antibodies against the RBCs of donor. So then the safe transfusion we can expect. So safe transfusion, whenever we want to say that, generally the antigen which will be manageable and that should be present properly. Next question. Bundle of is already we discussed. That is where the avian, from the avian septa it enters. That is what we can say. So here, muscle fiber found only in the ventricle wall. Yes, that is in the ventricle wall only. That too in the interventricular septum. Correct. Muscle fiber distributed throughout the heart wall. No. Nerve fiber. It is not a nerve fiber. It is also nerve fiber. Not. So answer 73:1. Next, duration of cardiac cycle. We know that it's not in minute. Wrong. 0.2 second wrong. That is less than a second. That is 0.8 second. Right. So go through the following statement. The kind of epithelium which forms the inner wall of the blood vessel is squamous epithelium. Generally, we'll say that epithelium forms, that is endothelium. Not, we can say the kind of epithelium which forms the inner wall of the blood vessel, that is endothelium. Murmur, that is wrong. So how many above statements are incorrect? One, murmur is a disorder. No, it is not a disorder of the heart wall, it's just a sound variation, abnormal sound. It is not related to disorder. Cardiac output, that is we discussed that 5250 ml. No, that is 75 beat, that is 72. Stroke volume 70 ml. Wrong. Oxygenated blood occurs in the pulmonary artery, deoxygenated blood. 1, 2, 3. So that is, in case of this, 3 statements are wrong. Next, which of the following factor increase the blood pressure? So as we know that in the cardiac regulation, autonomic nervous system increases the blood flow. As it autonomic nervous increases the cardiac output, right? So that the constriction, we can say not construction, that is constriction, right? That is constriction of blood vessel and activation of parasympathetic decreases the blood flow, increase the blood volume, increase of blood volume. So 1, 2 and 4 are correct. So here 76th question. So 1 is answer. 1, 2, 4 are correct. Parasympathetic system decreases, right? Next, the special system of the blood vessel present in our body exclusively for the circulation of blood to and from, right? Exclusively for the circulation of blood to and from the cardiac muscle. That is what? To the cardiac muscle and from the cardiac muscle. That is, we know that is a coronary system. Coronary system, coronary artery and coronary sinus. Artery, which carries deoxygenated blood to the heart muscle, whereas a sinus, which carries coronary sinus, which carries deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. Nodal system, we know that is, which includes SAN and AVN. And portal system we discussed, that is the unique, the connection, and bypass, that is, as we mentioned, where in the embryonic stage the heart wall will be there, fossa ovalis, foramen ovalis, sorry, that is foramen ovalis, to bypass the blood. So here coronary artery. So with this we can conclude, and this will be your one question, will be your homework question. So you can already have mentioned what is the role of ANS, autonomic nervous system, increases the heartbeat, so that when it is going to increase, how it is going to increase, increasing the strength of the ventricular contraction, increases the heartbeat and increase the cardiac output. And so that is 1, 4, 5. In this case, 1, 4, 5 are correct, right? And all other remaining this one and this one, that is a parasympathetic nervous system, right? So that is autonomic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, right? So whenever the regulation will be there, you should keep it in mind. The generally heartbeat and the function which is related and which is controlled by these systems, right? Next question. Carotid artery supplies blood to, that is carotid artery and aorta, which arches back. Before that you need to divide into the branch, that is a carotid artery which supply blood to the brain. So this is related to disease. Just read out and select the incorrect statement. So this will be your homework. Thank you.